Hello, I'm ShieldWar100 and welcome back to Gotham for another one of my Batman Miniatures game 3rd edition battle reports. Today we're focusing on a confrontation between a crew led by the Joker and the Court of the Owls. I've been looking forward to getting the Court of Owls back out on the board again, this time facing off against another one of the more familiar crews, so as to get a better idea as to how they fare on the tabletop with their new deck. Really looking forward to that. Check the link description below for my usual promotion for the Top Hatted Hamster web store. Check that out. And without further ado, let's have a look at who's in which crew. Today's Court of the Owls crew has a different flavour to the one I used previously, most notably as you can see the leader position for the crew is actually now taken up by Lincoln March, the Court of Owls' own iteration of Batman, I guess, in his power armoured flying suit with claws. He's a very, very different type of leader from the the High Court member, because he can fight. His mobile. I'm thinking this will crucially, more subtly, actually, be beneficial in terms that he'll be in a much better position to inspire the henchmen as the game goes along, which will give them some extra bonus manipulate actions in order to put down suspect markers and label people as prey respectively and things like that. Obviously it exposes him to more danger, but he's got his power armored suit and he's got loads and loads of extra rules. He's he's a great fighter and he can fly away from danger as well. So yeah, I mean, we'll see how he goes. He's a lot more expensive and hence that's why this Court of Owls crew has less models in it. But on to the other models. As you can see at the back there, imposing is the Gotham Butcher again. Really nice handy model there. You can see from the left to right now for the other henchman we've got Ephraim Newhouse, one of the Talons from the Night of the Owls saga, I think. He was the one who was after his knives, I think, if memory serves. He took on Catwoman, I think. The 1880s Talon is next, a young lady, or old lady now as it were, over 100 years old lady. So yeah, she looks solid. She's not quite as powerful as Strix, but she's nonetheless able to deal double blood with her Gladius, and yeah, I've got some good hopes for her. She's quite a solid piece of kit. And finally on the far right you can see another one of the O'Malleys. I used the son of the O'Malleys family in the last game report. This is the father of the O'Malleys. So yes, he's actually a better fighter than the son. He's a bit more expensive, but yeah, he has the skills to back that up. Right, in terms of purchased equipment, you can really go to town with the Court of Owls crew because there's so few weapons on their basic profiles that actually use the funding you get to purchase funky weapons and whatnot. So the henchmen in this crew and the Gotham Butcher have got a whole slew of extra equipment, genetic alterations, making pretty much all the henchmen in this crew are fast. Gotham Butcher is also fast, which gives them bonus movement, as you'd expect it would. There's camo vests, climbing claws, there's an ancient weapon in there. Ephraim Newhouse has the grapple gun today. So yeah, lots of tricks, and I'll go through them as they're used in the game. Okay, right then, let's move on to the other crew. Yeah, the Joker crew looking a little bit more standard form than I usually take with him. Sometimes I use Joker as an excuse to take some more weird and wonderful characters, and I do think that maybe affects their chances in the games, but it's a show at the end of the day, and he'd appreciate that. So yes, as you can see, it's a back to Gotham version of Joker on his lovely big base, which I really like. He's a good support character, can pump up his henchmen to do lots more damage with his kill them trait, and he's no slouch himself. We've seen him before. Harley Quinn standing at the back there. I think I'll just put a centre. There you are. And yeah, again, she's now on Joker's side this time, rather than fighting against him with the birds of prey. And yeah, she's solid, she's fast, and she hits hard. She's not all that survivable, but we'll see how it goes. It's not all about surviving, it's about scoring points, as I'm sure she'd appreciate. In terms of henchmen there, you can see from the right to the left this time, we've got the chainsaw toting thug from the Back to Gotham box. He's great, and he carved up Bane a treat in one of the games I did, so fond memories. Stan the Eyeball Man is a handy moving and shooting type of guy. I'm thinking that some more mobile firepower might be useful against the owls. High security henchman, a generic henchman. That means that you can take him with almost any crew apart from the Batman crews, of course, because look at him. And yeah, he's solid. He's actually quite expensive in terms of points, but he's he's a solid piece of work. He's got really good endurance. He hits hard, and hits lots more than hard, but those hits are all blood damage, so that's good. And as you can see there, we've got the what's his name, Thug 6. What a great name. The big guy on the very far left of your screen. He's the bodyguard henchman for the crew. He can soak up extra damage if necessary, and he's cheap, but he does, he's good. He's another great model. And finally, but not by all means not least, you can see there, and you've probably noticed, Deadshot from the Back to Gotham box. He's actually a model I've not used yet. I haven't actually used Deadshot in any of his iterations in my games, and that's something I wanted to an imbalance I wanted to redress, shall we say. Again, lots of Back to Gotham models in this crew, but lots of people have access to them, so I thought I'd better give them some airtime. And they're not. It's not like they're bad or anything. I just wanted to use the other ones for a bit. But no, this version of Deadshot, he's a version of Deadshot. What more do you want to know? He shoots things very, very well, and I'm hoping he'll do so today. Okay, let's move on and get this game started. Right, I'll take you through the deployment phase first, quickly show you who's where. Today I drew secure the area for our deployment zones. As you can see, it's a corners deployment, however both sides get 2 of those corners each. As you can see, one gets yellow, one gets the black corners. In terms of the text, there it is, but I'll go through it very quickly with you. There's a lot of text. Both sides choose one of their henchmen. They don't have a choice, they have to do so. That henchman is then left off the board, and he will be deploying from a suspect marker at the beginning of one of the future turns. You have to swap a suspect marker for that model in a future turn. I'll explain more when it happens, and it's going to be annoying for the Court of Owls, whose suspect markers are usually in short supply, but we'll see. Maybe I'll be better at it this time. For the Joker Crew's deployment, as you can see in the back corner, the Joker man himself is there with one of his bodyguard Thug 6 and the chainsaw guy. In the other corner you have Deadshot. I just squeezed him up here on top of the gantry. It doesn't really fit into the deployment zone, but I really wanted him up there, so I'm doing that. It's my game. And Harley Quinn down here, she's plenty fast enough to get around. And also hidden deployment means that this guy's high security henchman can deploy anyone on the board out of sight, and he's out of sight of the owls right in the middle there because they're all sneaking and hiding behind cover. For the Court of Owls deployment zone, you can see Lincoln March here, to see if I can get a front shot for you, and the 1880s Talon and Ephraim Newhouse in this corner, and I'm going to have to travel round the board just quickly to show you where the Gotham Butcher is hiding. He's over here, silhouetted because of my blinds. See if I can, just work on that. And yes, he's going to power through the plant. Okay. In terms of models which have been left off the board, for the Court of Owls, it is O'Malley's father, who will be appearing on a future turn. And for the Joker, Stan the Eyeball Man had that dubious honour. Okay. Finally, just really quickly, the owl markers, as used by the Court of Owls to mark people as prey, etc., etc., fits into a lot of their cards. I'll just tell you there's one up here, hiding next to poor Deadshot there, and there's one in front of the Joker, covering all of his crew members, and another one a little bit further in. Okay, they'll move around as models get removed as casualties, so hopefully they'll be able to respond to the situation as it develops. Okay, let's get on to turn 1. Okay, the take the lead and raise plan phases are both done for turn number 1, and no cards played in the take the lead phase, the first phase that is, for objectives or anything, so no long-term goals revealed there as yet. So move straight on to the initiative roll, which I will show you very quickly. Joker's the white dice and the Court of Owls in black, so as you can see 5 pips to 4 means that the Joker has initiative, so we'll be activating first. In turn, it's moved on to the raise the plan phase, where as audacity counters are assigned, etc. And the Court of Owls did then play an objective from their deck. They got a few cards which activate in this second phase as opposed to the first, which makes them a little bit unusual. They played Gotham is Ours for 2 victory points, and that's the one where they have to, if I just bring it into focus you can see it quickly, choose. They have to choose 2 scenery elements, of which they chose this car here, which has just been rammed by the Joker mobile, and the security box, shall we say, hut, that's what I was looking for. They chose those 2, and the Joker then has to choose another one, which they chose this other hut over here, the workman's hut, underneath the gantry. And so what happens is, if the Court of Owls has a friendly suspect marker within 4 inches of each of these scenery elements by the end of the turn, then they will score the 2 victory points for that card. The Joker crew had to choose a scenery element which they thought would be hard to get at, and this one was kind of hard to. It's kind of hard. Trouble is, because the sewer markers are, you know, placed around the place, there's only very few places the Court of Owls couldn't reach at all, so they went for this one at least, because it's a bit more out in the open, a bit more exposed, and hopefully draw someone into a place they don't want to be. Okay, moving on, we'll discuss who got the audacity for the first turn. We'll stay with the Court of Owls for now, since they just played the card, and every model on the board has an audacity marker, because there's 4 audacity and 4 models, so 1880s Talon, Lincoln March, Ephraim Newhouse, and over there at the back, the Gotham Butcher. For the Joker's crew, it was a little bit easier. No, a little bit more straightforward, you know, a bit more choice to make, sorry, not easier. As you can see, High Security Henchman got one, Deadshot got one, and Harley Quinn got one. The last remaining audacity counter is kept as a wild card to be used on any model they want, because the Joker has the Chaos Agent rule, which lets him assign them as the turn goes between him and his henchmen. Okay, right, let's start activating. First activation of the game then is Thug 3 for the Joker crew. He did not take Audacity, so he's only got his 1 single action plus being inspired by Joker's presence nearby. So he moved forward for his 1 action and then used the free Manipulate he got from being inspired to put down a suspect marker, which, as you can see, he turned into a stinky poison fish with the It Doesn't Look Fresh card played from the hand for 2 points. And we've seen this plenty of times before. It basically, if this fish is still on the board and not revealed by one of the Court of Owls models before the end of the turn, then that will score the 2 victory points, and anyone who does pick it up, however, gets poisoned for their trouble. Okay, so yes, early doors potential points for Joker crew. The Court of Owls elected to pass. They have 2 passes per turn because they have a deficit of 2 models currently, and so the Joker crew activated Thug 6 to once again, just like his friend, he moved up and put down a suspect marker. Nothing to turn it into a fish though this time, and yes, that concluded his turn. He did not take Audacity. Once again, the Court of Owls passed, so the Joker had to choose another model to activate. It was actually a really difficult decision because they didn't want to use up all their activations over in this corner. They want to have something to react with, and don't want to use Deadshot, and they've got plans for High Security Henchman maybe. So Harley Quinn had to go next. She used her prodigious movement to move from this back corner into the middle, so she's in a much better position next turn for walloping stuff. And she just put down a suspect marker. She did have Audacity, so yep, she had her free Manipulate. Well, her free Manipulate action free to do anything else she wanted. So yeah, putting down a suspect marker, sometimes useful to do in advance. Okay, now the Court of Owls have got to use their activations. With all the grace of a battleship in a duck pond, the Gotham Butcher activated for the Court of Owls as their first activation for the game, actually, and he rumbled through the plant. He's got prodigious movement on him, I tell you, and he put down a suspect marker, and as you may remember, he needed a suspect marker needed to be placed near to this little workman's hut in order for Gotham is Ours to score for the Court of Owls at the end of the turn, so I do believe he meets that criteria. He had Audacity, as you remember, over, but he has nothing else to spend it on, so that's his turn complete. Deadshot activated next for the Joker crew, and as you can see, he had Audacity, and he used his movement action first to climb to the top of the chemical cylinder here, and yes, he then used his special action to activate rapid fire, which gives him +1 to the rate of fire of any guns he uses, partially cancels out the penalty he'll be suffering for moving, and then he used his dual handguns to open up on the Gotham Butcher, whose camo vest, which I purchased from Purchasable War Gear, was cancelled out neatly by Deadshot's own innate night vision capabilities. The dual handguns have 4 shots basic. They lost 2 for 4 shots plus the strength die basic. Sorry, they lost the strength die on one of those shots for moving, another one for firing beyond their comfortable range, but the rapid fire put 1 dice back in for 3 dice, and all 3 of them on 2 pluses hit. So yes, that would be 1 stun and 1 blood each. The Gotham Butcher is huge, so cancels out 2 of those stuns. So the sum total damage for this turn, for this shooting, was 3 blood and 1 stun. Not bad considering he had to clamber up to get there and then fired with 2 little pistols. But yeah, so that's some early doors damage for Deathstroke, Deadshot, blimey, and we'll carry on now. Cheese. I've discovered some potential cheese. Hopefully it's intended, but wow, it's pretty useful. Ephraim Newhouse activated for the Court of Owls, and yes, he's just proved why he's going into every Court of Owls crew I ever use, assuming his rules stay the same, and it's not FAQ'd out of existence, because this is quite useful. Right, he activated. He's got, not only has he got Audacity, he's also inspired by Lincoln March all the way back in the corner over there. He moved to the sewer marker with his movement action and manipulated it using the freebie manipulate he gets from being inspired over to here. You actually allowed him to go into base contact with Joker, which has multiple purposes. Firstly, it was actually done with the intention of stopping Joker just shooting him when if he popped out on the other side, for example. That would have allowed Joker not to be in base contact and to just shoot him. And so yes, it was a tactical decision. Anyway, having come out, he then, from the hand of the Joker crew, of the Court of Owls crew, so he played Talon's Claw as a resource for 0 resource points. We saw that in the last game, and I'm going to hope that you've watched it and you can recall, or at least know what this card does, because it basically allowed him to make this Thug number 6 prey, because Thug number 6 was within 4 inches of that owl marker next to him, and also Ephraim Newhouse has the primary target loot trait, which allows him to use enemy suspects as friendly ones, which allowed him to use the suspect marker that Thug 6 just put down as a rather throwaway thing as his own suspect marker, which he then picked up to satisfy the conditions of making this guy prey, which is amazingly useful. It means you don't have to go around picking up your own suspect markers. You can use ones which the enemy have just put down to mark them as prey themselves. That's really amazingly useful in this crew. So yes, he's made Thug number 6 prey, which will tie into a whole bunch of other cards and objectives and all sorts of things as the game progresses, probably. As the next thing, he still had his Ephraim still had his attack action left, his tactical action. He could have put down a suspect marker of his own, but instead he opted to use his scimitar against Joker. Both sides efforted to the maximum, as you can see there from the stun damage accrued, and when all was said and done, 2 hits got through, including the strength die, so 2 blood each. So Joker's taken 4 blood damage. His endurance is only 8, so he's halfway there already. Very successful turn, but does leave Ephraim rather exposed. So let's see how the game progresses on. Like I said, that's potential cheese there, being able to use your opponent's suspect markers to make them prey. But yeah, really useful. Staying over this side of the board, Joker activated next for his crew, and first thing he did was he took the Audacity token that was left over for his crew's side, and he attacked Ephraim Newhouse with an attack action, and with his poisoned knife. And after all was said and done, 2 hits got through, each dealing with 1 blood, and also poison to the unfortunate owl there, but the audacious owl, shall we say, after he appeared right in the middle of the crew and started laying about him. Joker then used his movement action to move up and across over here, and he used a special action to inspire the chainsaw wielding guy to kill them. Gives the chainsaw guy 2 bonus attack counters, which he'll trade in next time he attacks someone. It factors in really well with that chainsaw, as we found out in a previous game. And yes, that concludes the Joker's turn. Moving back to the Court of Owls. The 1880s Talon activated, and she had a relatively simple turn. She moved from her Audacity counter, which yet again I've left one behind, damn it, and she has prodigious movement enough to, and acrobatic as well, so she could vault over here, put down a suspect marker with her inspiration, with the inspiration she had, and it's as you can see, it's within 4 inches of both the security booth and also this car, which is what they needed to score Gotham Is Ours, which they played at the beginning of the turn, because that suspect marker is there. Of course, assuming it's still there at the end of the turn, that is. And yes, that concludes her turn, apart from the fact that as an objective she played the Owl's Labyrinth, which now factors in because there is a model marked as prey on the board. I'll bring up the text here. Okay, yes, so the enemy model marked as prey over here, so that's big guy just there. If in his next activation, which will have to be next turn now because he's moved already, if he moves during his next activation, the Owls will score 2 victory points. If he doesn't move, he gets Enervating 2, which will severely hamper his effort limits. And it also means that, if he doesn't move, that means, well, he's not going anywhere, and he is the Joker's bodyguard. So that means he rather does pin a lot of the enemy crew in place if he chooses not to move. So yeah, it's an interesting one to play. It's at the end of the day, does the Joker crew want to give away 2 victory points or not? I guess we'll find out next turn. Okay, I think there's just one model left for the Joker crew now. High security henchmen have been kept back for a reason. What he did was, now that enemy models have started moving into the middle of the board, he moved from over here to next to the security booth and the little entrance bar thing, which name escapes me for the second. He put down a suspect marker next to 1880's Talon, as you can see there, and played Let Them In on the Joke from the Joker crew's hand. We've seen this plenty of times before, but it's nice and easy. High security henchman is a henchman in a Joker crew for this game, so he gains the Trickster trait, and this requires a model with the Trickster trait to put a suspect marker within 4 inches of an enemy model. So there you go, I measured it, and they do just about fit within 4 inches. I could easily have moved it closer if I need to, but I wanted to set up a good shot. So there you are. Okay, so that's 2 victory points for the Joker crew, scored immediately. Okay, over to the Court of Owls to finish off their activations for the first turn. Taking the last activation for the turn, Lincoln March activated his used his special action to activate his fly ability. He also played from the hand as a resource for 1 point the Shadow Claw, which if you recall from the last game, it is the text. If I bring that into focus, basically if he moves towards an enemy marked as prey, i.e. this guy, he can add 4 inches onto his already immense movement of 18 to move up to 22 inches, allowed him to jet all the way across the board to here, nicely between Ephraim Newhouse and the 1880s Talon, to give them inspiration next turn, just about, I made sure. He put down a suspect marker with his tactical action, which allowed him to play an Owl's Tail as an objective, this time not a resource, from the hand for 2 victory points. You have at least 2 friendly owl markers and 1 friendly suspect within 4 inches of the same enemy model, and Joker is definitely fulfilling that criteria. 2 owl markers, 1 suspect, so instant 2 victory points for the court. Nice and simple. So yeah, good scoring there from the Court of Owls, and they're cycling through their deck very quickly. As I anticipated when I first read it, I thought, oh, they're going to be able to get through their cards very quickly and get to the ones they need through a mixture of resources and rapid fire objective scoring. So yeah, okay, they need to, because it ties in so much to their play style. So yeah, it's working out really well. Okay, let's go to the recount phase and clean up and see what's what. Okay, recount phase all completed for turn number 1, and in terms of victory cards, I was about to say objective cards scored, it doesn't look fresh, it's still present there because the stinky fish hasn't been picked up, so that's 2 victory points for the Joker crew straight off. And Gotham is ours, scored for the Court of Owls for 2 points because they have a suspect marker over by this booth which the Joker crew chose, and this suspect marker meets the criteria for both the security booth and the car, which is for some reason very important all of a sudden. 2 victory points, nice there for the Court of Owls. In terms of other things that happened, some stun damage came off everyone, so Gotham Butcher's clear of it now, he only had 1, and Joker and Ephraim Newhouse are down to 2 each. Oh, haven't rolled for Ephraim Newhouse's poison, I'll quickly do that. 3 dice, pick the 2 highest. He needs to score, he wants to score equal to or lower than his willpower, so he picks 2 lowest, shall I say. So there you go, he'll choose the 4 on the 1 there, so he doesn't succumb to the poison this turn. Close though, but he can get worse and worse poison as the game goes on, and it's a freebie damage at the end of the day, so whether it works or not, doesn't matter. Turn 2's take the lead and raise the plan phase both just completed. A lot of thinking went into this one. In terms of the take the lead phase, no cards were played for objectives at all by either side. However, as part of the deployment zone card draw, you might remember that at the beginning of a turn the 2 missing henchmen can turn up, 1 from each side, and both sides elected to deploy their henchmen. Now what it does is they placed in contact with an existing suspect marker, and then that suspect marker is revealed. Stan the Eyeball Man appeared next to his maximum security henchman, and what's his name? The O'Malley's father, the father of the O'Malley's family, decided he would appear here next to Lincoln March. So a lot's happening. It looks like it's redeploying to this corner of the board. Both sides have cards to score over here, and obviously lots of damage to do too. Okay, in the raise the plan phase, audacity tokens were handed out, and now there was a degree of choice on both sides. In terms of the Joker, it was a lot easier choice. 1 for Deadshot to give him that extra special action to activate rapid fire, I think. Even though he doesn't need to move, he can still make use of the special. And Harley Quinn got an audacity marker. The other 2 can actually be handed out to anyone, all of which either being the Joker himself or one of his henchmen, so they can take audacity as needed from the 2 remaining. On the Court of Owls side, it was just a case of working out which model didn't get audacity this turn, since there's 5 models and 4 counters. That was the easiest way to think about it, but all models had a good case for having it, because they're either embroiled over here or they want to redeploy and do stuff. So yes, in the end, after much thinking, it was O'Malley's father, the late arrival, who didn't get one. He is still in Inspire range from Lincoln March though, so if he activates within 8 inches, he'll at least be able to do a manipulate. Okay, right, let's move on to activations for what I feel is going to be a fairly brutal turn. Did forget to mention that the Court of Owls managed to draw the initiative roll with the Joker, which meant that they had the initiative phase this turn, having not had it last turn. Ephraim Newhouse decided he was going to go first and took the first activation. Yes, so first of all, he had audacity, if you remember. The first thing he did was to use one of his throwing knives on the Thug 6 down here. As you may see, all 3 hits, the strength die and the 2 attack die, were successful, and the strength die even rolled a 6, causing the critical ability to knock him down, to knock down the poor thug who'd been marked for prey, if you recall, last turn. So yes, not a good time for Thug 6. Took 3 of his 4 endurance there, just from some throwing knives. The Talon then decided he would put down a suspect marker for the Court of Owls using his second tactical action. He gets a free manipulate because he's inspired by Lincoln March, being within 8 inches, just by a hair, incidentally, and by doing so he played the Shadow Claw as an objective rather than a resource this turn. For 2 points, he just needed to put a suspect marker within 4 inches of an enemy model that has at least 1 blood marker. Well, both the Joker and Thug 6 here have got blood now, so that more than counts. So yes, it is 2 victory points in the bag for the Court of Owls. He then decided he'd get out of dodge, so to speak, because he is taking damage last turn from the Joker, and decided that he would engage his grapple gun with his movement and special action to zip up here, and yeah, concludes a rather useful turn for the Court of Owls. Floyd Lawton, aka Deadshot, took the lead for the Joker's crew's activations this turn. He wanted to get something in before his target escaped, and he used his modified assault gun to really nail Gotham Butcher down a few pegs. As you can see there, he engaged his rapid fire. He didn't move, so he got his full shots +1, and hitting on 2s with the attack dice and 3s with the strength die due to Gotham Butcher's tough skin, but nonetheless enough hits got through to do 8 points of blood damage and 2 points of stun, and yeah, the 8 blood is all you need to read there, because that is more than enough to finish off the Gotham Butcher and kill him, so he'll be off the table in just a second. Having done this, the Joker crew played $1 million shot, which happens to be Deadshot's own characteristic card, and as soon as they made an enemy model with the leader, psychic or free agent rank knocked out or removed as a casualty, they scored this card for 3 points. It doesn't actually have to be Deadshot to do it, he's just best equipped to do so, as we just found out. So yes, 3 points there. The Gotham Butcher is a free agent, incidentally. He's of the rank free agent, even though he can't be hired by any other crews or anything like that. But it just represents the fact he's a bit bigger than your normal Talon, just a little bit. And yes, so 3 victory points, as I said, for the Joker crew. Instant score. Nice, and a big model off the board. The 1880s Talon, looking to get involved over here, decided to activate next, and she played as a resource from the hand the Court's secure bases. As you can see from the resource, it's a freebie, but in terms of the points cost, but she was able to be placed anywhere in contact with a friendly sewer marker. She played this before her activation started even, so she would just move straight away over here to contact with this sewer marker. She then had audacity, so she moved up to Thug 6, and as you can see, she killed him. Big dead. Big dead. He was marked as prey. He didn't get a chance to move away, so what's it called? The Owl's Labyrinth that was played on last turn won't have a chance to come into effect. He didn't get a chance to activate and move or not, but did stop him from moving earlier in the turn and getting away maybe, but he's only a henchman, so yeah. Having done that, having killed him, she played Talon's Claw from her hand as an objective. Nice and simple. Remove an enemy model marked as prey as a casualty for 2 victory points, so that's 2 points scored as well. Yeah, so pretty brutal. Okay, she doesn't have anything else left to do this turn, but yeah, there's a lot of Owls in the mix over here, and Joker's looking a little bit beleaguered. And yes, of course, I did forget to mention all the excitement of the Court of Owls turn, that during their turn as well, having killed him, the Joker crew also had a card to play from their hand. Your Expendable came out. It's just a handy little bit one. When a friendly model with the Trickster trait is removed as a casualty, as he very was, they can trade this in for 1 point. Does take the edge off the Court of Owls scoring those 2 at his cost. So yes, he was expendable after all. He was taken as a bodyguard, so I'm sure he's happy with that. Okay, Thug 3 with the chainsaw activated for the Joker's crew, and first thing he did, he was back here, remember, is to play Let Them Do Their Thing. Sorry, just bringing it up for you. Let them do their thing with this suspect marker here, which I left for posterity. It will be removed in just a minute. There's a lot of text. I'll just go through it very quickly. We have seen it before. He reveals this suspect marker, and it turns into a bomb which moves 2d6 inches in a direction of his choosing. Having moved, it then explodes. Anyone underneath this big old template here, then takes 2 stun damage. If it damages anyone, then the 2 points for that card will score. So, what he pointed it at the 1880s Talon, who was over there, and as you can see from the 2 damage she's taken, you can probably surmise that yes, having rolled an 8, it moved over Joker, which was a bit of a risky manoeuvre. moving exploding teeth across your boss, but he was lucky and it worked. It actually landed right on her head, and she took 2 stun damage there, which scored those 2 points for Joker. Having done that, that was his freebie reveal, incidentally, because he's inspired by Joker, so he got his bonus manipulate out of the way. He took one of the audacity tokens that was left. There's 1 remaining for the Joker's crew. He then decided to lay about O'Malley's father there, and with those bonus attack counters he had from last turn, he was able to get 2 hits through, which brutally carved the Talon in half, because yes, there's only so much you can do for a regenerative factor, I suppose, in the course of a game, and yes, 6 blood damage was more than enough to take this Talon out of the game. So there you go. The Court of Owls reduced now to just 3 models on the board. It's kind of brutal for them, so we'll see how they can come back for it. Lincoln March last to activate. He could have used a pass for his team, but I think he really needed to the Court of Owls realised they needed to use their activations to take out opposing models lest they be overwhelmed. Here, the first thing he did was to play as an objective an Owl's Tail to score that straight away for his crew. Again, 2 friendly suspect 2 owl markers and a suspect within 4 inches of enemy model. The Joker definitely matches that criteria, so that was 2 victory points straight away for the score. Then straight after that, as an objective, as a resource, geez, get your words right, Lee, Owl's Night came out, and what that does is it was to make Joker prey. He's within 4 inches of this suspect marker and this owl. This suspect marker will be picked up. I just left it there to show you where it was coming from, so it won't be there after this turn. So Joker is now marked as prey, which is generally bad for him. When the Court of Owls marks you for death, you've only got a certain amount of time left, I guess. But then Lincoln March, rather than attacking Joker, don't forget you can only play one objective card from your hand a turn anyway, so even if he'd gone over and killed Joker, there'd have been no scoring from it. He played the other objective earlier in the turn, so he's been marked for prey for future. He moved over to the Eyeball Man though, and laid out him. He's got combo with his retractable claws on his suit, and both sides efforted to the maximum, 3 points each, to try and cut down or increase the die pool respectively. And yes, after all was said and done, 5 hits got through for a heaping helping of damage there. As you see, the 5 blood damage there is marked, and Eyeball Man has 5 endurance. So Eyeball Man dead in 1 round of combat. He appeared and then got killed, just like the O'Malley's father. Obviously not always a boon being able to move your model straight onto the board. Guess you might don't want to put him in harm's way, but then who knows. And yes, another one down for the Joker's crew, but yeah, models dropping like flies. Joker took a turn, and he was over here. First thing he did, he took the last audacity token from the Joker's crew's pool, and he used his shooting action, his tactical action to shoot, sorry, shall I say, at 1880's Talon. Had a look, and she does have acrobat, so she used 2 of those to reduce his attack dice pool just to the 1 attack dice left, which he then missed. Unfortunately, it was a 50-50. Unfortunately, it was not Joker's day, even with his lucky rule giving him a reroll. He then decided to move over here and use his remaining action, the special action, to give high security a henchman a bit of a pep talk with the kill them trait, giving him 2 attack counters, as you can see there. He won't be able to use them this turn because there's no more audacity tokens left in the pool for the Joker crew, but nonetheless he'll have them in the tank for next turn, next time he has to attack someone, and given those 2 knives he probably will at some point, or at least it's a good threat to have. Okay, finally, as a resource card from the hand, the Joker crew played They Must Know Pain. It's a really handy one if you get it in there, because during his activation, Joker removed 2 of his accrued blood damage markers, so he's on 2 stun and 2 blood at the moment from previous activations. So yeah, he will, that concludes his turn. Okay, over to, it's just Joker models left now, so we're just going to run through their last actions for the turn. High security henchman quickly had an activation. He didn't have audacity, but because the Joker moved across, he was now inspired as he started his activation within 8 inches. He just moved over here. I'm not counting this paltry little sign stopper thing as an impediment to movement at all. And he just moved over here, put down a suspect marker because he was inspired, and played Let Them In on the Joke from the Joker crew's hand for 2 victory points. We saw it earlier in this game indeed. By putting down that suspect marker within 4 inches of Lincoln March, he scores 2 points for the Joker's crew, and that concludes his turn. Harley Quinn was the last model to activate this turn in turn 2. She had audacity and she had to choose whether to run into the rescue of her pudding or if she was going to score some points. And sometimes you just need those multiple PhDs and psychology degrees or whatever she's got. Seems to change every time I hear it. And yes, she decided to score some points because that's how you win the games. She moved around to where the Gotham Butcher was, where his suspect marker was, more importantly, and revealed it with her manipulate action and played So Long It's Been a Gas. Lots of text there, I'll just summarise it. She removes it for 2 and gets 2 victory points just for doing so. Because she removed one of the enemy's suspect markers though, she has to choose someone on her crew to get enervating 2, and there it is over there. Oh, they also put down a suspect marker next to them as well, so we'll just do that quickly. There it is, suspect marker over there. They get and this chainsaw thug gets enervating 2, which will reduce his effort limit next time he has to use it. Okay, that concludes the turn's activations. Let's go to the recount phase. Okay, and neither side had any outstanding cards they needed to see if they'd scored by the end of the turn, so it was just a case really of removing 1 point of stun damage from every model that had some. Wasn't an awful lot to remove really. Most of the damage going on around here is blood damage rather than stun, and that doesn't come off, so yeah, you can't get blood out of your clothes, so yeah, unfortunately for them. And so the poison on Ephraim Newhouse didn't activate again. He managed to resist it quite easily this time, and yeah, so let's move on to the third turn. We're halfway through the game. All of a sudden it's looking like the owls being in the ascendancy over here, it looks like they're the ones who are being closed in on from all sides. Okay, the take the lead and raise plans phases for turn number 3 have both just been completed, and in that first phase the Joker's crew played Let's Dance from their hand. They play it in the first turn and it scores at the very end, as you can see there, for 2 victory points if one of their models with the leader, psychic or free agent rank is damaged by an enemy action this turn. So yes, if Joker gets damaged and he is marked as prey, don't forget, then they'll be scoring 2 points, which will be a bit of a difficulty for the Court of Owls to get around that, because they kind of need to do damage to prey to score things. But yeah, oh well, only 2 points, but it does take the edge off anything they lose, anything that they gain. What else was there? Oh yes, of course, the initiative roll was made, and as you can see, 5-4 in favour of the Court of Owls. So the Court of Owls are going first this turn as well. What else? Oh yes, in the raise the plan phase, the Court of Owls played Terrible Accident from their hand, which is kind of the mirror opposite of what the Joker crew just played, except for 3 points the Court of Owls have to remove the enemy boss as a casualty. So yes, at some point in this turn, if they can kill Joker, then they get 3 points for their trouble. Not bad. He's marked for prey as well, so it makes it easier. Moving on, the audacity counters were a little bit easy to do this turn. For the Court of Owls, it is each model that's remaining gets one. They still only have 3 models left. And on the Joker crew side, Deadshot got one. Harley Quinn could have taken one, but she's a little bit too far away to make good use of it, so keeping them all back for Joker and the henchmen for this time. Okay, let's move on to turn 3's activations. Okay, so the Court of Owls made full use of their first activation by activating 1880's Talon, and she had plenty of movement to move up the board into contact with Joker with audacity, and she laid about him with her gladius quite horrifically. She first of all played Terrible Accident as a resource. Remember, it got played as an objective earlier in the turn, so Terrible Accident, there it is, for 1 resource point. It doubles the effect of any effort that she uses this turn, so she get 2 dice for every 1 effort she put in, which is horrible. Yes, the Joker efforted to the maximum, as you can see there, and she put her 2 effort in that she could. Her effort limit was restricted by stun damage she's accrued over the course of the game so far, but yes, it was overall enough to give her an additional die over what she normally would have. The dice were rolled. She's overwhelming, which means that any hits that she gets require 2 blocks from Joker to get through. The sharp die, the sharp characteristic made her strength die hit. Overall, she got 3 hits through after all was said and done. 6 blood damage, which is enough to kill Joker for the purposes of this game, which is horrific. I mean, she's only a henchman, but the Court of Owls, the Talons are no joke, even the ones without names. And yeah, I mean, the cards they've got, when someone is marked as prey like the Joker, they can any of their henchmen can turn into, like, you know, high tier killers, you know, just with the right cards played at the right time. It's a really thematic way of being, because, you know, in the comics they're individually very capable, but, you know, sometimes en masse they aren't. So you know, this really does come out in the game, which is a big factor I like about this crew. Anyway, having done so, she killed him. She then also, as an objective, played Talon's Claw from her hand in order to score 2 more victory points for removing an enemy model marked as prey as a casualty. So that's a double whammy in one phase's activation. Both the initial card played Terrible Accident scores for 3 victory points, and also this one for 2, in one of those rare occurrences where 2 cards can score at the same time, for the same action even. So yes, that concludes her turn. She wasn't inspired, she wasn't close enough to Lincoln March at the beginning of the turn, so she can't do anything else. So that concludes the Court of Owls activation for turn 3, with the first activation, let me say. So let's see what the Joker crew can do about that. High security henchman activated next for the Joker crew, wanting to use those attack counter bonuses he was given by Joker last turn before he was taken out, or just forgot to use them. He moved into contact with Lincoln March and laid about himself with his knives, of which he has combo, so all those dice he had were looking pretty scary, actually. When all was said and done, he also, forgot to mention, he has clown paint purchased from Purchasable War Gear, and he used that to reduce Lincoln March's defense to 3 for the turn as well, so even more stacking the odds in his favour. When all was said and done, he got 3 hits through, each causing 1 blood. Then I checked out the power armor rule and found that if Lincoln March takes an effort, he can reduce damage accrued by 2. So there would normally be 3 blood. By making 1 effort, as you can see there from the stun damage, he reduced that to 1. So the net result was 1 blood and 1 stun on Lincoln March. So not too bad for him there at all. No cards played from the Joker crew in this activation, so on to the Court of Owls. Ephraim Newhouse activated next. He was up on top here. Whilst he was up there, he actually played Owl's Knight as a resource. Sorry, I'll just there you go. It's the one where they use suspect markers and owl markers to mark enemy models as prey, and once again, because it's Ephraim Newhouse's activation, he used the Joker's own suspect marker and the owl marker there to mark the high security henchman as prey, as you can see there. He then fell down to the ground and moved the remainder of his movement, and then he used his tactical action to throw his his throwing knives at the high security henchman. I removed for cover and I moved for cover purposes the strength die, and the 2 remaining hits did get through though for 2 blood on high security henchman, as you can see there. Finally, in this activation, the Court of Owls played the court's secure bases as an objective instead of as a resource. 2 victory points. They choose an owl marker on the board for each enemy model's activation. If there's no enemy models nearby within 4 inches of this owl marker, to be more specific, shall I say, there's a numeric counter added to it. If there's 3 counters on it by the end of anyone's turn, this scores for 2 victory points. So basically, if this owl marker stays away from enemy models, then the court will score points, which is useful. Incidentally, the owl markers have been moving around the board. You might have noticed in between turns. The rules for that is that each time a model is removed as a casualty, of which that has happened several times, an owl marker can be moved 4 inches by the owl's player. So yes, that's why I haven't been pointing it out, because it gets a bit laborious after a while, but they are moving around, so if you've noticed that, good for you. Okay, so yes, that's got this owl marker now has a ticking timer on it. It may score for them, it may not. Deadshot once again activated from atop the stack here. He had audacity, so he used the special action that goes with it to give himself rapid fire for +1 attack die on anything he chose to shoot. Having done so, he used the last round of ammunition from his modified assault gun on Ephraim Newhouse down here, and unfortunately for Ephraim, he's been blown away. Yes, so although despite shooting from beyond the comfortable range of his gun, it was more than enough there to do lots of damage and kill the guy. Ephraim does have no, does he? No, he wasn't given a camo vest, but even that wouldn't have helped in this situation due to Deadshot's night vision. So yes, Ephraim is gone, and fence got moved, and unfortunately for the Joker's crew, there were no cards that tied into that this time. It's not been a great turn for cards for them, unfortunately. They're going to have to do some cycling through at some point, and yes, but that does take out another model, the Court of Owls, down to 2, so not looking too good on that respect for them, but we'll see how it impacts upon scoring. Lincoln March was the last activation for the Court of Owls this turn, and he's had quite enough of Deadshot deleting his crew members one by one as the game progresses, so he's moved over here. He activated his fly to do so, but before he did all that, he attacked high security henchman who was in base contact, and both sides put their maximum effort in, so Lincoln here is actually carrying an awful lot of stun damage at the moment. It's not good, but he needed to do it. He also from his deck, he played as an objective terrible accident. Not an objective, sorry, as a resource, sorry, for 1 point, so doubled the effect of the effort he put in. So he had a whole healthy stack of dice to chuck in at the high security henchman who had just been marked as prey. And if I pan over, you'll see that it really paid dividends with an awful lot of hits getting through, even after all was said and done. Yes, the high security henchman is very, very, very dead for the purposes of this game, and that scored from the Court of Owls hand, Talon's Claw, so I say. Remove the enemy model marked as prey as a casualty for 2 instant victory points there, and yes, so a good one, good turn there for Lincoln March. He like I said, after that he then jetted off up here to worry Deadshot for the last turn. Okay, that finishes the Court of Owls activations. It's over to the Joker to finish off all their moves. Okay, Harley Quinn activated and moved from around here over to the owl marker, as you can see here, which is currently counted up to 2 in terms of enemy activations. I'll tell you why in just a moment. And yeah, she started to climb the suspiciously stacked boxes, shall I say, up here, maybe to help intervene against Lincoln March up there. Yes, that was all she did. She didn't have audacity, remember, so because I neglected to give that to her. Should have done it at the beginning of the turn, as it turns out, but hey, weren't always to know. And yes, so that's her. The reason that's on 2 is because I actually before that activated the clown with chainsaw over here, and he wasn't able to stop that counter from ticking up. What he did though was to move over. Instead of chainsawing the 1880s Talon, he had his eye on the card's prize, shall I say. He put down a suspect marker and immediately turned it into exploding teeth, as we've seen lots of times before in Joker games with Bite the Dust. Loads of text. This will chatter around following whichever model activated last, and as it does, this counter of 5 will count down. I rolled a 5 for it, you see, and once it reaches 0, that counter, it will explode. If anyone's damaged by the explosion, that will score for Joker. So possibly they were hoping for a very low die roll to give it a very short fuse. Unfortunately it came up a 5, so maybe it won't even get to blow up, who knows, but we'll see. It'll have to go into next turn for that. Okay, let's finish off there and move to the recount phase. So yes, Harley has moved over to stop this from counting up anymore, denying the court more points. Let's move to the recount phase, like I said. Okay, in that last phase, a bit of stun damage came off those eligible models to do so. Lincoln March still carrying an awful lot for his part, but yeah, it's a very small number of models left on the board. It's been quite carnage heavy, so yes, that's quite good fun. For cards, Let's Dance played right at the beginning of the turn, definitely scored because Joker was very damaged to the point where he had to move. So for 2 points for the Joker's crew. Also coming out of the Joker crew's hand in the last phase is Stick to the Plan, one of the generic cards they managed to put in before the game started. 2 victory points because they have more suspect markers in play than the Court of Owls, which is always going to be likely given the fact the Court of Owls has to pick theirs up to mark people as prey. So 2 more points there for the Joker's crew. So end of turn scoring doing much better for them than during the course of the turn scoring, but I don't actually know who's winning by any means still. So let's move on to the last turn and see who can score some last objective markers, or achieve anything at all really. Okay, let's go. Right, last turns take the lead and raise the plan phases are now done. Neither side had any cards to play from their hands in either of those 2 phases, but the initiative roll came out with a 5-2 in Joker's favour, so Joker has the initiative in this last turn, which could be vital. It may be not, we'll find out. Yeah, so let's move on to activations. Both sides have got cards they can still score and things bubbling away on the board, which could potentially net those crucial victory points. Okay, kicking things off in the easy way possible, the Thug 3 activated for Joker and decided he'd move over around the back of the cars and reveal the Court of Owls suspect marker that was there. In so doing, he played So Long, It's Been a Gas again. We saw that before. It's 2 points. He revealed the suspect marker and he chose to take the enervating effect, which puts him up to the maximum of 3. So he is well and truly enervated, but hey, never mind. He gets to score 2 crucial victory points for the Joker's crew, and we'll see if that has any impact later on. As you can see, his the exploding teeth he deployed before have now moved up next to him. 3 activations to go before they explode. Okay, I played through and filmed the remaining part of the game. Unfortunately for everything, no one actually scored anything in the end. There was a stinky fish put down by Harley Quinn, and she managed to continue on denying the court secure bases by standing next to that, but Lincoln March managed to pick it up and not suffer any. The poison wasn't going to kill him by the end of the game. The exploding teeth moved over here before they exploded, so nothing really happened. Yeah, basically it was all a lot of movement and things happened. Even some shooting went on, but really nothing that was going to score any points because everything was denied at the last minute, unfortunately. So yes, no actual points. A lot of denial went on. A lot of denial. I'm always in denial, but no. But a lot of victory point, spoiling went on. Actual moves, but nothing that would actually score points. So in the end, it wasn't really. I'm going to take those takes out just to conclude the game a bit earlier, and we'll move on to the final count now. And I'm intrigued to know who succeeded in this game. Yes, should be interesting to find out. Okay, on to the final count now, and let's see how many victory points the Joker team crew scored, shall we? So we got 2, 4, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. Ooh, not bad score. Kind of average, really. Not bad though. Good churn of the cards. Let's go to the Court of Owls. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 13, 15, 17. So 20 points to 17 in favour of Joker this time. That's quite surprising. I thought the Court of Owls did much better than 17. They did some pretty good at one point in my hand I was looking at the cards, and they just weren't able to score them quick enough. They fulfilled the criteria of so many cards at the same time, but you can only play 1 per activation. So yeah, the hard part for them was choosing which card to score and try and keep it relevant for future activations as well. So yeah, it wasn't disappointing for the Court of Owls at all. I don't think they did really well. The crew was a little bit light on models, and the Joker crew can hit hard, and it did at crucial times, taking out key members of the court, and thus really hurting their activations for future. During that last turn, the court had some cards they could potentially have scored but just didn't get the chance to because there were just so few of them left. And that's really unfortunate for them and probably played a factor in it. Overall, really happy with how the game went. It was good to get a win for the Joker on the board because I'm aware that they haven't had that many great haven't won that many games so far with me, although they've been involved in really, really tense, close games. I don't think I've shown them in a bad light at all. It's just sometimes they don't shine as much as they could do. But yeah, this time they got a good win, good solid win as well against a good crew, which played quite well, I think. I don't think I made too many critical mistakes. Lincoln March is a much more dynamic and inspiring, shall we say, leader for the court. He manages to keep up with the Talons, and that means they get more. There certainly wasn't the drought of suspect markers I found in the first game with them, so that's good. I look forward to seeing what new models the Court of Owls has coming out, because the Knight have kind of semi-teased the fact that there will be another leader at least, in terms of the court members, the actual civilians, as opposed to the assassins, and I look forward to seeing what they can do in terms of synergizing with their Talons. But yeah, Lincoln March is certainly good. He was a bit battered by the end of the game, but he was still standing. He's a good solid model, and his flight ability is amazingly good. Deadshot, yeah, he shot people dead. Does what it says on the tin. Did a really good, really good job. And the Joker crew didn't fall apart despite losing their leader, which is encouraging for them. I'm very happy with the way the game went. I think. I'd definitely like to use the Court of Owls again, and probably will at some point. I hope you really enjoyed this game too. I am Shieldwall100, and I look forward to seeing you many other games. Please give me a comment, anything that I might have missed out, or anything that you might want to see in the future. Okay, thank you very much. Bye bye.